Hey everyone, welcome back to the Athlete CEO podcast, where we empower you to unlock the greatest driver of your net worth, your human capital. I'm your host, Erik Averill, and I am joined alongside by my co-host and older brother, Brandon Averill. We're the co-founders of AWM Capital, where we partner with athletes, founders, and VCs to unlock the full potential of their wealth for maximum impact. Each week on Athlete CEO, we feature select excerpts from interviews with the trailblazers, the elite, those at the top of their field and the best at their craft, with the goal to curate the best practices that you can leverage to unlock your human capital. And on today's episode, we're bringing you segment 2 of our interview with our good friend, Joe Schmidt. Joe is the former Notre Dame football captain. He was an investor at Accel, a venture capital company that has funded incredible companies like Facebook and Slack, Dropbox, Spotify. And Joe is now running strategy, sales, and partnerships at the portfolio company Ethos Life. Ethos has also raised over $100 million from Sequoia and Accel, Google Ventures, Stanford, Goldman Sachs, and celebrities like Jay-Z and Robert Downing Jr. And in this installment, Joe jumps into one of our favorite, most passionate conversations. What is the advice for professional athletes when it comes to investing in the venture capital space? What you have to know about deal flow, and overall, what are Joe's recommendations for athletes on their investment plan?
Yeah, Erik, this is right up our alley. I had such a great time chatting with Joe through all of this. I think, what people realize pretty quickly is, our philosophy obviously is to work more focused on outcomes, right? We're not just out there trying to chase the shiny new toy. I think you get in a lot of trouble with that. I think Joe points to that where, especially athletes, unfortunately, the deal flow that they see has been picked over so much by the professional investors. And so he really hits on the importance of finding that advice, whether it's from your wealth management team, whether it's from a VC, whoever it's coming from, certainly not from the clubhouse. We all know those are probably dogs, but really find out who knows what they're doing, because, as we all know, as we demystify some of those, theories or all the good stories, everybody wants to tell you about the big deals they won, right? But they're not going to tell you about all the ones they lost. So Joe gives some fantastic advice about trying to build out that team and really understand what you should be looking for. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, there are great questions in there too. I think the advice that really hit me was talking about, it's not only good enough to just even say, hey, I've got an opportunity to invest in a venture capital fund. Do I have the same terms? Where am I on the cap table? And am I being put in some sidecar fund? And so I think as we see, there's this warning where there's this appeal now where money has been flown. I mean, we see deals obviously every single week of touting that they have access to a certain fund or certain opportunity. And I think this is where the devil is in the details, and it needs to be a part of your plan. And so I think this is jam-packed with information. And the other thing is the conversation, what should you do with your public investments, is something that Joe hits on in here that I think is going to surprise a lot of people. It's not going to surprise any of the experts or the professionals that do this on a daily basis. But, he is very clear that 99.9% of people venture doesn't make sense for. And so there is a ton of information in here. We know that you guys are going to get just so much out of it. And so without further ado, let's listen in to our conversation with Joe Schmidt. What made you actually say yes or pound your fist on the table hard enough to get the attention of the general partners to take a business serious, right? You guys sift through thousands and thousands of companies every year. Like, what actually gets to a table, gets a term sheet, and potentially gets a check?
To get a deal across the finish line at a venture firm, we look at, I don't even know how many companies per year, like 10,000 or something, insane, right? And we pick 10. So the rate of which we invest in companies is just so we're just so select. So yeah, it's really challenging, and that's why we try to dive really deep so that we can be informed when the one that you should hit kind of comes across the plate. It's like the old the old Hank Aaron's not Hank Aaron, Ted Williams quote, right, where he just like he kind of waits. He's the master of waiting for his pitch. Like that's kind of how you have to be with as an investor. You just got to wait for that pitch to come across the plate.
I've always been fascinated just by how many deals you guys see, or investors of venture firms see and go through that process with. And like you'd mentioned, you see thousands of deals, you invest in a few. One thing that we always try to impress upon, our end clients and a lot of people listening to this podcast right now is, if the Accels of the world are doing that, how difficult is the game for the individual athlete? This is something we're all passionate about on the athlete side, is making sure they make really smart financial decisions. I mean, what's your advice to an athlete that's like, hey, this venture stuff sounds awesome, I want to be involved? What would be your advice as far as deal flow? How do they look at deals? What would you say to that?
I'd say for 99.999% of athletes, you're honestly best off just being like a passive investor in the public markets somehow. If you really want to do your diligence, you got to find someone who you can really trust, who's going to do the work to get you into the right positions so that you're, investing alongside an Accel or alongside a Sequoia or, any of these people. So, they've already been smart in that they've selected someone like you guys, to help them navigate this realm, right? Because the unfortunate reality is a lot of these people, like I listened to, a very, very well-known, player in the NFL, stand in front of an entire group once and give the advice that you need to know your financial advisor's name. It's like the amount of just insanity that's happening around athletes. It makes me want to vomit. When you got that going on, it's just really hard to, sift through the bullshit. And so I would just really recommend, finding your way into, relationshiping your way into the right circles with the right funds, because without just like a massive amount of work, you're not going to be able to, come anywhere close to being able to make a good decision on whether or not you should invest in an early stage startup. So, I think you guys do a great job where, where did I meet you guys? Again, where do we run into each other 20 years later? At Accel. And that's the kind of stuff that, you guys should be doing, is trying to get into those conversations. And then, the good news is, like, for your clients, you can actually add real value in some cases, right? With whatever the company might be, maybe there's a consumer angle, and, like when you guys ask us about our investors, you immediately say Jay-Z and Downey. So there's some value to be had there, I think. It's just, you got to find your way into the right place with people that you trust.
Do you have any parting words for our audience, whether it's for the professional athlete, whether it's for a founder that's looking to be backed by a VC or a fellow investor? What are your parting words of wisdom for our audience?
For the athletes that are listening to this, just remember that, how hard it is to really do investing the right way. Imagine if, we got somebody off the street, and we told them that they needed to go in and they needed to, get a hit off of Clayton Kershaw. Or we told somebody that they needed to go pitch an inning in the MLB. Like, what would happen? And like, that is absolutely no different. And it actually might be more, serious on you guys going into investing. And so without the proper training and commitment, you run the risk of really losing significant amounts of money. And so I would really try to find people that you can trust, that are going to do all of the work to try to help you come up to speed, and then make really informed decisions about where you can put your time and your money. Because it's scary what can happen to people. So just a heavy word of caution, there.
Wow, that was an incredible segment. And What an opportunity to create wealth in the venture capital space, but it also makes it one of the most competitive and difficult markets in the world. For example, him mentioning that Accel looks at 10,000 companies in a year and may only fund 10. This makes me think about what it would be like for the average individual, the average Joe, to roll off the street and try and defend a shot from LeBron or step in the box against Cy Young award-winning pitcher Jacob deGrom. And what do you think would happen? Obviously, there would not be a lot of success. Amateurs don't belong in the space of professionals. And that's absolutely no different when it comes to investing. And really, even more important, because what's at stake, which is a huge amount of money in your financial future. And I am excited for you guys to listen to the next segment. You are not going to want to miss out when Joe shares the strategy that actually helped him land a job at Accel and what's the most important advice that he has for founders that they need to know. So head over to athleteceo.com. Make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter to get access to all of this insider information, the tools that are discussed in these podcasts. You are not going to want to miss out. And if you guys are enjoying this podcast, I highly recommend that you guys head over to the podcast on Apple iTunes and look up AWM Insights. It's our timely investment and financial news topics, short little bites that you guys are going to love for sure. Once again, that's AWM Insights. And until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, and always be a pro.